Don't wait on microphones to minimize interference. And can I request that anyone who has got a cup or a glass that's not your own into the committee room, please can you return it to the kitchen area after the meeting is finished? Thank you. Thanks. First of all, I'm going to do apologies for absence. And I think we have one, which is Councillor Eddie Vernon, is that correct?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Right, declarations of interest. Does anyone have a declaration of interest of any item on the agenda tonight? No? Okay. Right, you can have the minutes of the meeting which were held on the 18th of July. Are there any comments on that? If not, can I have someone to propose that they're correct and second, please? You're proposed, thank you, Colin, and August is seconded. Thank you. So I'll sign those when I need to. Public participation, I don't think we have any. Oh, I'm sorry,
I vote in favour.
I can't hear you.
Vote in favour of the minutes. Just need to vote on the minutes.
Oh, yes, of course, we need to vote on that, don't we? Silly me. Oh, that's unanimous. Right, okay, do apologise for that. Right, public participation. We do not have any members of the public do that, except we do have a presentation from Vistry on housing proposals at Higher Comitro Farm. And can I remind you, gentlemen, you have 10 minutes to do your presentation, and there will be 5 minutes of questions afterwards. So when you're ready, you can start.
I'm John, my name is Lucy Atkins, and
Can you move the microphone closer to you, please? Just move it forward. That's it.
Lucy Atkins, I'm planning manager from Vistry. The Vistry group is made up of both home living homes and countryside homes. We are we're part of the wider consortium that's building Orchard Road at Trenton. And we have been preparing a planning application for 350 homes at Higher Comitro Farm, which is just in the south of Orchard Grove, and we've been working proactively with the council on this through an EPA agreement and pre-application engagement for several months now. Yeah, we will tell you a bit more about the details of the site.
Evening everybody, I'm Simon Collier, I'm the planning consultant working with Vistry on these proposals. Just for those of you, I'm sure you all know the wider Comitro site, which is obviously has outline plan permission for 2,000 dwellings, and it's under construction of the northern end from the A38. That's the area outlined in black on that plan there. And the land that we're talking about is the area etched in red on the plan, which you can see adjoins the wider Comitro site. And if we just flip to the next slide, please, you'll see that the majority of the Higher Comitro Farm site is allocated as part of the same site allocation that allocated the wider Comitro site in the development plan. And that's the plan from the development plan that shows that. The red star has been added, that's not in the development plan, but that's just to show the part of the site we're talking about. So the eastern half is within the allocation, but we're talking about a bit that extends slightly beyond the allocation because it's part of the same option land, and we'll be seeking to master plan the entirety of that area for reasons that hopefully will become clear. Just move on. So that's just another slide showing site within the context of the wider allocation. And you can see where top left hand side where the proposed park and bus site would be. The proposed employment use is in yellow there. The green shows where the location of the local centre is part of the wider Comitro proposal. Into the purple is the primary school, which for anybody who's been in that area recently will know is now out of the ground and under construction. Our site, etched in red, is obviously in close proximity to those proposed facilities, and that plan shows the connections between our site for pedestrians and cyclists to the wider area. One of the things that the master planning process has been keen to encourage is active travel. So we're trying to maximise the connections for pedestrians and cyclists from the site to the wider area. And what it also shows there is we've got 2 potential vehicular points of access into the site, both of which would be from the wider Coventry site. So there would be no access from anywhere other than from the Orchard Grove proposals. Okay, we can go through. So that's another plan showing the 2 points of vehicular access where the blue arrows are. One to the north, thank you, there, and the other to the, what that be, to the east. Those are the 2 points of vehicular access, which would be, as you can see from the dotted lines, from the wider Orchard Grove proposals. Obviously there's lots more connections for pedestrians and cyclists throughout the wider development. Okay, thank you. So with this, Lucy said we're proposing a scheme of up to 350 dwellings. And a large part of the site will be for public open space and designed as a parkland for the residents of the new houses, but also for the wider Orchard Grove scheme. And one of the things that we've tried to maximise is the ability for that space, which largely falls within the does fall within the unallocated part of the site. The unallocated part of the site is the majority of which will be parkland, open space, will form a space that will be an addition to the areas of public open space and sports pitches and landscaping as part of the wider Orchard Grove proposals, but of a typology and nature that would be different to what is otherwise being provided. What we're also seeking to do, as well as the community parkland, we're proposing 25% affordable homes in accordance with current development plan policies. Biodiversity net gain, which you may know about, and the imminent requirement for developments to seek to achieve 10% biodiversity net gain. These proposals will, since the master plan that we'll show you in a moment, will be proposing 21% biodiversity net gain, which is possible because of the large areas of open space that we'll be proposing. As I said, it would be a walkable neighbourhood, so there'll be good active travel links from cycling and walking to the wider area and facilities. And we'll talk a little bit more later about Future Home Standard, which is the sort of sustainability credentials of the building itself. Okay, we can go to the next bit. So, as Lucy said, we're going through a process with planning officers and the local planning authority and statutory council teams and working up the master plan. And we've undertaken consultation up until this stage as well. And from the feedback that we've received, the master plan has evolved to take account of comments that we've received, and that's actually reduced the developable size from a scheme that was originally 400 dwellings to 350. That's increased the amount of open space, it's increased the amount of biodiversity net gain, and we've gone through a process where the scheme's been subject to review by the local planning authority's quality review panel as well, which have also reviewed the master plan. Okay, thank you. So there's the master plan. Probably should have that on screen a little bit before as I was talking, but that shows the points of access again from the north and east. High Coventry Farm itself, which is a listed farmhouse, will remain, and the setting of that has been an important part of the master planning to ensure that that remains as with space around it. And will be a prominent feature, albeit not part of the actual site itself. It's not part of the site that we're proposing development on, but obviously important to the context of the master plan. And then on the southern section is the large area of parkland that we're proposing, that will have, we're proposing allotments as well in the north part of the site. And there'll be sort of, nice, attractive, walkways through that parkland, people can use and hopefully enjoy for a variety of different uses. Okay, I think just conscious of time, we've just over 2 minutes left. And some images there just showing some of the fictive views of the public open space. Okay, thank you. Next slide. And then I'll just pass back to Lucy, who just talk through a bit about the future home standards that will be different in terms of the sustainable technologies being used in these houses in comparison with the Greenwich. Thank you.
Okay, just briefly, because, so, yes, because as I explained, the site will be accessed from the wider site. So the main access point in on the east isn't proposed to be built until 2025 to 2026. So we're not looking at building this straight away. So by the time we get there, so once we're by 2025, all of District homes will be built to future home standard. So what that means, we probably know a lot about this, but they'll be effectively gas-free and wholly reliant on renewable technology. So that may be air source heat pumps, maybe ground source heat pumps. So we've got all properties will have electric charging points. Much, and basically it's a fabric first approach, so much more significant width of walls and cavities and installation and so on, without sort of going into too much of the techie details. But yeah, because where we are in the time frame, so we're able to say sort of they will meet those. So the homes will be quite different to those on Orchard Road. And it's a slightly different character here. So if you just go back to the master plan again, then you can sort of argue, probably want to ask questions around the master plan. But yeah, I suppose the key today is we've worked a lot with the local authority officers. We've sort of spent a lot more time working with them rather than submit the application and change things to reach a condition where they're quite content because they do have some concerns about landscape impact, heritage impact, because we're close to the listed buildings. So where we've arrived at is where those officers now feel content that we've addressed those concerns. So we've got sort of character areas that are quite different around the listed farm building. We've got a lot of areas which are accessible. In the southern part that Simon explained, we've got this benefit of having this really significant new parkland area for the whole community. Part of that, you can do this little, where there's a gap of it, we call it like a skyline walk, because there's quite a ridge line there, so we've moved development back away, so from the farm beach views, you wouldn't be able to see development where it sits on the hillside with the landscaping. But what we've introduced instead is sort of just an opportunity really for recreational walks along with linear timber plane trails, so it just provides additional health and wellbeing benefits there and something that's accessible, and then we've got cycle routes and so on connected. Sorry, that's probably, I think that's it. The only final slide was just the timelines and our contacts, but we did look on that, but I think we touched on that construction would likely be until 2026. And we're working with the local authority on section 26, better agreement as well.
Please. Thank you. And I think we're was getting other members if they would put any questions. I've just got a couple. Do you have a travel plan?
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah.
of the affordable housing, which 25%, which I'm pleased, I wish it could be more, but 25% is good. Can they actually be social housing rather than just affordable? Because there's a big difference between affordable and social. So that's my two questions. If you can answer them first, and then I think the council wishes to ask the question.
I think the tender split of the affordable housing still needs to be formally agreed with the housing officers. but we've had initial discussions with them, and I know that I think their preference is for it to be 70% social rented and 30% intermediate. So that would be their expectation, but as is always the case, there needs to be some more detailed discussions on that as we get closer, and once the planning application is submitted and it gets closer to determination by the local planning authority, there will need to be some further discussions on that, but that's certainly their position as to what their preference would be, and obviously we're looking to achieve a policy compliant scheme for affordable housing.
And Andrew, do you have a travel plan?
There will be a travel plan submitted with the planning application, yeah.
Yes. Right, did any other councillor wish to ask a question? I don't think so, I'm the only one there. Oh, yeah, comment.
You may have already said it, but what is the overall acreage for the whole site? So,
The whole site's 20.4 hectares. So.
Yeah. 45 to 60.
Yeah, and then they sort of, sorry, I know they might have on a hectare, not acre. And yeah, and like the green infrastructure, probably going to take the half up to the 11.4 hectares. So that's how it works out. So yeah, well over half is green space. Development areas around 9 hectares. Yeah, I think we put it on the slide. Oh, yes, 27. Yeah.
Okay, did anyone else there?
Obviously, I am slightly critical, but obviously I can't really see much of an on that, but where will the main access be from the main, from the main road? I'm thinking from either the shore side or from the A38 Wellington Road, which will be the main points coming in.
So you'll be familiar with the access into Orchard Grove from the A38. Currently, this scheme will be accessible via the Orchard Grove development from the Spine Road that will run from Troll Road through to Wellington Road and Troll Road. So from the A38 to Wellington Road, Troll Road. So eventually it will be accessible from both directions via the Spine Road.
Yes, it does. I've got just another quick question. So with that in mind, are there any plans to put a pelican crossing on the A38? Because at the moment there is no crossing from Orchard Road to go across the road into Itchen. A lot of the children from that estate are at the Bishop's Hall Primary School, and at the moment there's no safe crossing across that busy road. And I just wondered if within that travel plan, if there are plans to even talk with all the other developers about actually negotiating having a pelican crossing or a crossing on Wellington Road.
Yeah, that will be discussed with the Highways Authority once the planning application is submitted, but bearing in mind what Lucy said about when this site will be built, the school will be open when this site is built. So we wouldn't expect children to need to cross the road to get to the primary school, because they should be going to the primary school within the Orchard Road development.
Possibly. Yeah, possibly, not necessarily, because again, they may well be children from the Bishop's Hall area, and they may, they might. I don't think you can sort of say definite that all the children will go there.
Of course, no, not suggesting that for a moment, and so we'll need to have discussions with the Highways Authority about those sorts of things. But I was just making the general point that the expectation will be that hopefully the majority will be able to go to the Orchard Grove.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Let's check that. You just, Judy, sorry, I didn't miss you. You were pointed it then. I didn't realise you wanted to ask as well. Carry on. Right, we've got a couple more minutes and then
Yes, just a quick one. One of the concerns for the having that area, funding is way for the rest of the area. As you were saying, is very unusual. And we still already have flash flood issues down at the bottom of the point of the moon. But there's the mitigation basically, which is on the existing site. Already you can see in problems, you have water coming up through the drains, that's very bad infiltration. So it would just be a letting on the water for that, and work with the flood authority, and making sure that the complete sites are in place and handling that issue going forward. I mean, I think the big questions that won't be answered until we get one of the final stage, but it is, I can say. Yeah, so very right, it's something, so we will consult with the flood authority when the application is in. But we have done full flood risk assessment and drainage strategy which will be submitted with the application. So yeah, so there's mitigation measures. You can probably see on the sort of northern part of the, there's quite a large attenuation basin on our site there. So we don't have any impacts here on the Whitewater Road site, but it will be, you know, that ensure that there's, you know, no worse situation and that it is mitigated, yeah, there is such on the site as well.
I think to add to that, I think that the expectation will be, and this is designed to ensure that this won't have any additional impact on the wider area, because the drainage will be attenuated on site and released at the appropriate rates. But we can certainly, in our discussion with the local flood authority, try and get to the bottom of what may or may not have been causing the issues that you referred to, so that you can make sure that this, they're assessing this within that context. That helps.
Right, I think that's all the questions. And we can move on to the applications. Now, thank you very much for your presentation. It was interesting. It's nice to see nice colourful slides and be able to ask you some questions ourselves. So thank you very much, all three of you.
Thank you.
For attending the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we will quickly move on, which is item 5.1, which, is 3823 0300. It's various equivalent alterations, including the replacement of glazing, installation of Juliet balcony, cameras and rails, the removal of external staircase, relocation of current sofa parking, and installation of acoustic enclosure at Bedford Place, Archery, Tomlinson. And I'm sure that everyone knows the site what this building is, because it was a white elephant for many, many years before Devons took it over as their head office. And it actually worked there before. So, did you want to see anything? We know the building and the location. So did you want to see anything? Anyone got any comments? Yeah, Moses?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of I had a quick look through the applications this afternoon, just had a quick read through. I don't think that I haven't really got anything to comment, except they've actually asked for a backlist reading the assessment as per the ecologist report, so obviously any no comment subject to that.
Absolutely, yes, Econ.
And go through the application, main thing we want to make sure is that they've got in the extra piece of glass that they believe we do need to scale out. There is a good enough gap for this, for any size person to be able to get out their windows still. I've no any comments to make sure any, the size requirements for scales or anything still.
Okay, and Simon? My company is Simon.
Sorry, just another silly question, Bobby. What's the
Sorry, what's it?
acoustics stereo? I just,
Well, means it's got the same going.
I think just, yes, from what you just mentioned, I was just cladding, it's just sort of soundproofing.
Yeah, because it's offices,
I said, okay.
it was not designed and built to be lived in.
Oh, so I was additional cladding to make sure that it's.
Yeah.
People aren't hearing the data.
Acoustic protection for people outside.
Okay.
And also for people inside, because the walls are not that thick, so they have to make sure that.
No, it's fine. It's just the word enclosure suggests there was some kind of like sacrifice.
No, it's not like when you have, I don't know when they have the generators and they do an acoustic enclosure. It's just within a equipment or it's outside. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a damper when you've got it on your stereo. Well, that's what back bit, isn't it? Right, Marcus, we need to make some comments on this, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says, yeah. Right, fine. Right.
Well, I just noted the comments you made around the back risk assessment, the gap for escaping windows. But did you want to make a submission of support, or is it just comments? You have-
I do something, and right, support, so you have
Yeah.
support. Anyone against supporting it? No, I think that's unanimous supporting it. Yeah, we don't want it to be one element for another 100 years. Right, okay, so we've done that one. It's all the same counting board. It's all that really great statue in France. Yeah, it's still there, the statue. It worked there for a year. Yeah, yeah, pleasure of British memories. Right, okay, we've done that one. We'll move on quickly, which is 5.2, which is 3823-0304. Erection of a single-story extension to the side with conversion of loft into habitable accommodation at 48 Greenway Avenue, Taunton. Now I know the benefit one, I know this meeting. I've looked at it, and I personally can't see a problem. Has anyone else got a problem with it? I think it's a pretty straightforward, this one, be okay with that?
Yes, please.
I think it's still general subject to be, again, being conscious of water.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Right, Marcus, you ready? We're happy with it, subject to the ecologist report. Yeah, we're in favour, yes. Okay,
You can get anything up on the screen, I can share stuff from the website.
does anyone need to see it on the thing?
No.
I think most people know exactly where it is and have seen some looking plans. Okay, if anyone hasn't been able to see plans, please say, because Marcus will get it up present. We'll move on now to 5.3, which is the erection of a single-story extension to the side and rear of 52 Red Lake Drive, Taunton. I know this one as well, so I don't know if anyone's got any comments to make on that. Right, Colin?
The other thing I wanted to make sure is that the window colour is matching the existing and the bricks match.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't because of something different colour, this, that was one of it. Yeah, yeah. Anyone else got any comments to make on this one? No, so with those comments that Connor has just made, are you all happy with this one, please show? Yep, everyone's happy, thank you. Right, 5.4, which is 38/23-0299. Demolition of the garage and carport and erection of single-story wraparound extension to 2 Minster Close, Taunton. So anyone, any comments with this? I think the wraparound is comment. Then maybe then comment on sort of spotting first.
The actual extension is going to make it a lot bigger, and especially like Vivian's, you know, with mortgage rates going up, it's really good that they're actually investing back in their house to make it a lot better. And the only question I wanted to kind of find out is whether the parking would be included.
Yeah.
Because they're taking the garage away, aka a place to park the car, and it's like going on an already busy road.
Yeah,
So,
saying, drive.
They're not going to go.
Yeah, that's true. I was going
So
to
if it's
say, yeah, I was just going to say, I just said again, but they've asked for an ecology report, they needed some photographs of how, they just need photos, I can't remember what it was for, but, and the other thing is, if there's any, I mean, it's a recent one, so if there's any neighbours, objecting, which I didn't see, and I think also echoing what Julie said, there are If you looked at the plans, there were two spaces, they would look like they were the main space, took a bit of the garden to make an extra space to the side.
Right, so, as long as the, parking is not depleted on the ecology report, I hit right, Marcus to get up so you can actually see what it is.
So couple of spaces, there's still more.
But I agree with you, Conrad, about the problem.
There's the, what's the yeah, I can put that actually.
That's it. The car park is around this one.
They have one now. You said
Come up so we can see it. Not reach the page.
I can see that.
Yeah, no, just next point, we're waiting.
It's a cool.
Well, it's just on this, fortunately, I kind of look at the plans today in the afternoon, but I can't seem to get onto the planning portal now. I think we had this problem last time. I don't understand why. That's all.
At the moment, it's planned maintenance, so they're updating the site, because I couldn't get on it this afternoon. And then I got on it about 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
It's a bit late when you come in here.
I know.
Yeah, but,
I've never gone.
does it actually say in the report that there will be 2 parking spaces?
An existing.
Julie, can you put in my phone?
Okay, so there's an existing car park space and then a safety space next to it. But I think it's going to be granted so that it's just an additional space if needed, which actually is better.
Right, so the space they use from the garage, they can put outside.
Yeah, basically the 2 car parking spaces, and it's still a garden space, so it's not like.
Exactly.
But if people haven't got, I know we can't see it, but in the application, it does say that they would do an additional outside parking space because of the loss of the garage. What you said, Colin, about mortgages and not being to be make the house bigger. I think this is the way forward for a lot of people, and I'd hate to hold anyone back from being able to enlarge their house. So, right, Marcus, happy to support?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're happy to support, yes. All those in favour to support? Okay, there we are, that's that one. Right, the next one is 5.4, which is 38/23, show 0299. It's a demolition of garage called Fireport. Oh, we have no spaces. Sorry, I didn't cross it off. My brain's gone. Right, 5.5, which is 38/23, show 0306. Display of signage to the front elevation of Castle Lodge, Castle Green. Now, I couldn't get onto this. And I'd like to see what the signage is and exactly where it is, and I couldn't get it up to have a look. So if it's possible to get onto it, Colin, can you give some information on that, please?
So the application was to put a sign, I'm not too sure what the actual is, maybe like dentistry or something like an office, but it's on the list of buildings. So they have had a heritage report back, and report saying it's had minimal impact on the actual key features of the building, external and internal, by using minimal kind of ways to fix the sign on. And it's the actual signage there is quite complementary to the building. So I think this kind of, the next application as well is for a sign in front of the property as well. It's the same building, but the same heritage report has kind of come back. Both actually support both.
Yeah. Is that the one? Is that the building that's behind what used to be the Winchester? It is the old building, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going, yeah,
Next to the window four,
It's next to the museum.
next to the window.
yeah, it goes that way.
In the glass bridge.
I said, okay.
Ah, yes.
Yes, yeah.
That's that.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't, but seeing there's no problem with the heritage people and everything, are you happy to support this? Okay, Nisha? Thank you. That is unanimous. Right, this is exactly the same because it is listed building consent. So, as we've approved the sign, are you happy to give this the building consent, please, because we don't, they can't do it.
Yeah.
So are you having that all shown? Yeah, all in favour? Perfect. Right. Now then, this one, right, 5.7, application for approved provision matters pursuant to planning permission of the members in respect of the previous landscape layout scale for the erection and ship dwellings, 5 stop landscape, car parking, including carriages, internal access roads, footpaths, circulation zone, public of space, and this is at College Road. This is where we have the presentation for tonight. I've got a couple of things that I would like to put on as comments. Has anyone got any things that they'd like to put? If not, I'm going that we put forward to the planning committee. Just I have got a couple of comments.
I have some.
Did you say that's to do with tonight?
Sorry?
This application is not to do with this evening's application. This is to do with the existing development.
Oh, you said it's in it. Sorry, I'm getting a bit. Here's the answer. Right, okay, you've got some questions, okay.
Which the whiz kids of Cambridge Road, I don't really know the area. But if I'm right in saying that, surely these houses, or a lot of these houses would have been bought, the emphasis of actually having a car space. Surely this is a really late application, having these houses actually being already built. Or am I wrong?
No, these not.
They have been built, but has the application gone through?
No, that's why I've been asked for.
Oh, that's completely understandable.
We get to speak what those through. Or pays to the
So this is within the reserve matters application. So the existing application,
Yeah.
which is also development. Seeing it's best are part of the consortium for the wider report, say, of course, development. So then exists the sacred part for the cultural farm. So this is the best part of the budget.
That's where I'm confused because we're just part of it. It is quite confusing, yes. Did you want to add anything else, Judy?
What's to do these are a couple of points. One is the situation about natural government in England and Duchy. So question is within the application, I can't see anywhere that it talks about the offsetting or emissions. We're supposed to be offsetting within the pollution, but I don't see it within the documents. You know, they've been on stop building any more houses unless they have wetland offsetting. Now, I know we had the initial buildings that they've done, but I haven't seen anything for any new buildings. Now, I know the government over time, but recently had overturned the Duchy position with that legislation with Natural England, but then the House of Lords blocked it. So we're back in a position where builders can build unless they can offset. So I don't know if they are, listen, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it within the application, so I'd just like to know where they are with the offsets.
Right, Marcus, did you hear that? About the concern about where they are with the phosphates? Sorry, where they are with the phosphates, because as I said, they were going to reduce it, relax it, but House Mills have overturned it. So, where, as Julie said, where are they with the phosphates and mitigation? That's one of our comments, that we're not happy that there isn't a proper report on mitigation. Is that right? Yeah, that is one thing that we need to put on there. I mean, other than that, I've not got a problem, unless June's got no problem. Yes,
Couple more. One is flooding. We've already witnessed at the weekend and we've never had any issues on controlling with flood water coming up through the drainage system, which it did at the weekend, which was concerned that it's coming from the attenuation basin. So I would want to understand the flooding prevention that has to be done for that area. It does seem to be getting worse, which given that we've not had that much rainfall, we shouldn't be seeing the element problems that we've got. We also had a number of complaints recently of sewage smells. So the question is, it all then links into sewage system. So I think these would be things we have to have checked with the ongoing building works around that area, because the foul water system does link in to the new sewage system, and also any suds will link into the suds in the attenuation basin that they're under.
Yep, I totally agree with you. We've had 82 centimetres of water in 11 hours. It was just unbelievable. And you just look around the rest of the world that are having problems. And I mean, that was absolutely ludicrous what happened. And I would like to know how they're going to mitigate that. You know, because if it's going to be something that's going to happen more often, then they really need to do something with the drainage. I know they've done some new bits of drainage here and there, but it was, you know, not enough for what we had. And I've never known floods like that in September before. It's absolutely ridiculous. So that is another of our concerns, is what is their mitigation against 82 millimetres of water just in Taunton. I can't remember where it was, but someone just outside of Taunton, they had 102 millimetres. So I really think that this needs now to be looked at by the planning officers, because I don't think it's going to get any better. I think it's just going to get worse. And there's a lot of people around that knows it's going to get worse. People more scientifically more informed than I am. So that is concerns that I think that we need to put forward, that needs to be looked at as to what they're going to do. Because if there's one place, they've argued about floods, really, but all the spuds got washed out of the road. Oh, I was trying to go back up and got some freebies, but never mind. But Simon.
Yeah, just a quick one. Obviously,
Next one.
sorry. On the presentation, talk about environmental homes. So I haven't read detail on this, but are these going to be environmental homes as well, or is it not a requirement?
No.
Can we ask nicely if they consider it? Because surely this, you know, they're not doing it because they don't have to. It just, which we've just seen a presentation, and they are doing it because they're going to be made to, not because they think it's a good idea, because they're trying to save the planet and they're trying to spin it. But I just feel like surely we should be, if developers are just pushing these things through before the rules change, just doesn't seem right. Surely we could at least comment on the fact they're not trying.
Yeah, that could be some, I'm sure the officer a bit will word it a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, yes, maybe a little bit like, yes.
We do it to about it, can people turn your mic and you switch yours on?
I think it's just down to the, obviously this application is just for plan, for apartment. So if it,
So outline, isn't it? That's part of the outline.
yeah.
But it's for 160 dwellings.
Yeah.
160 dwellings, in my opinion, sorry, should be
Yeah.
built to the newest standard, not to try and get anything on the cheap standard.
We'll have to
Unfortunately.
wait and see how things go. That's the difficulty. We don't know, do we? We can't say, yes, let's move on this one.
Yeah,
But it's very difficult, especially with all the rules and regulations a lot being lifted, you know, and instead of being hard on, it's just getting softer, so it's not really, you know. Anyway, Marcus, can you just read out any of the comments that we've made, please? And then we can vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. just reflecting on the discussion, you don't obviously have to vote to support this if you don't, you can just pass on the comments, to the planning authority. Just on the working backwards from the first one, so, the future home standard, which becomes mandatory in 2025, so we'd like to see that, you know, adopted if possible. And your comments around climate change and future proofing the development in terms of dealing with flooding and those mitigating those impacts, also reflecting Councillor Stainthorpe's comments around flooding that area and the issues that are already being experienced around the drainage and the suds being adequate. And then the comment that you made about the phosphates as well, to include that, I think that captures everything.
I think it does, yeah. Yeah. I think it does, I don't think anyone's going to agree with that, disagree with that, so, yeah, I think that is, pretty clear what we want to pass forward. Okay, thank you very much. Right. Right, oh, hang on. We'll do 5.9 first, because 5.8 is listed building consent. So we'll do 5.9 first, which we should do before we go to listed building. Sorry, before we go to listed building consent. So we'll do 5.9 first, which is 38/22/0416, change of use of former public house into 15 bedroom house of multiple occupancy with internal alterations, insertion of roof lights and PV panels, and formation of internal courtyard at 1 Stratton, Taunton. And I've got Martin Sprouse first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is the old Pen and Quill pub opposite the courthouse.
No, it's further up.
No, it's 1 Stratton.
Yeah, that's right.
Pen and Quill next to the old police station. We're talking about 15 units, some of which may be occupied by more than one person, we don't know. What is the effect going to be on parking in that area? Because it's a very congested area. 15 units seems quite a lot to me. It seems though they're cramming them in. I don't know whether anybody else has got any observations.
I have one, usually when it's a multiple occupation, there are very few vehicles. Because people that live in accommodation like that, they might have a bike, but they very rarely have cars. Where I live, there used to be lots of buildings in multiple occupation, and you very rarely see a car amongst any of them. So I'm not concerned too much about the parking. But I do understand your concerns. Okay, so Colin?
One thing that keeps coming up with like HMOs type buildings, that obviously parking is one issue, but with the increase of water and waste coming out of that property as well. If you think originally it was just probably one person living in that house, you know, going to the bathroom, whatever. But now we're going to 15 bedroom, you know, 15 actually occupancies. You know, they're actually increasing, you know, the outlet to that, because there's a lot of waste. If like say 7 people are having a shower at the same time, can they actually hold out as a good backup? But looking at the heritage, because they've done a heritage report and they've supported it because they're keeping, preserving some of the original features like the fireplace, putting certain government in place to kind of make it look better. But they're saying it will make minimal external effects. But obviously you're still changing occupancy to 15 places. So yeah, it's my only worry about the drainage more really.
But there's been noted about that. I know the Pen and Quill quite well, so I worked in County Court, and it's a good meeting place, and it used to be extremely busy. I don't know what the drainage was like back then, but yeah, it would be, my thing is, it would be nice for something to happen there. Because it's an amazing old building, and as long as it's done properly, I'm more than happy, but I do agree with you, you know, lots of people, you know, just say, telling them what to shower in the morning. Yeah, and not just showering, but everything else that goes with it. Right, Judy.
And there's just one comment, when I was looking at that one application online, there's a comment from, I guess, Planning University, which is very supportive. And to be fair, when I read that, I'm actually getting problems. They're supportive from the point of view, they have students coming out that work in the hospital and they're struggling to get places to stay and talk to. So I do think this is a useful, use of that building it in mind into all the time. But I take on board Connor's comments and the question is actually, is it possible maybe to reduce the number of dwellings, maybe put less pressure on? I don't know. But it's certainly a good use of the building and certainly I think something is needed.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, the student issue, especially student nurses and you know, you get doctors that will come in and do some training. So it is something we can study lacking. And there, they can walk.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's within walking distance of the town. So, you know, it's very, you know, accessible. Martin, did you want to say anything or have you?
No, I'm happy to accept the fact that we definitely do need accommodation for students, and it's large setup. I was just a bit concerned, as I say, if anybody does have a car, that there will be parking issues. I'm prepared to accept the nature matters. It's not a major risk. But in principle, I'm in full agreement.
Yep, anyone else? Oh, Paul?
Yeah, just, I think it's been mentioned and you talked about the Quill, being past it and really, it's in a bad state. And anything to that building will be improved, you know.
Yeah.
So just to add support really.
Chris, one thing, I think there's a tunnel from the Pen and Quill to the court. Because it's called the Pen and Quill because the lawyers used to go over the pub, right? But they didn't want to go out in the streets, so they used to go back to a tunnel. So the Pen and Quill. So I'm just wondering if they're going to block the whole or whatever, but that's just a personal thing. And Martin.
Just a question, almost next door is the old police station. And there's, I think, a planning application that has gone in, that's going to come in for that. Is this going to be HMOs as well, do we know?
I don't know, but as far as I know, I think there is some people actually living there at the moment.
Yes, temporary.
Yeah, temporary.
It's caretaker.
Yeah, but I really don't know. I haven't heard or seen anything, so I don't, you know.
It's in the same stretch of road.
Absolutely.
It would make sense.
It would be ideal for the same use.
Yes.
I totally agree with you there, but they have got parking behind it.
Yeah.
So that's slightly different, you know, there's quite a bit of parking behind there. Yeah, and there's also a building behind there, the police cadets work and everything else, so it's quite a big site. Okay, right, so have you got our notes, Marcus? Well, tell us what we said. Just that we can confirm.
Thanks, Jess. Just briefly, obviously concerns about effects of parking with 15 new units. So those are some of the concerns and contact Councillor Solly's concerns raised around the water impact in terms of the network there with the additional people. I know there were comments from Wessex Water in the application, but it talked about not potentially being connected. Didn't seem to give too much detail really as to from my first reading of it. But those are sort of the main two concerns. I haven't noted about the tunnel, but it seems to be a general support, but you know, if you want to.
It's general support, just with you know, that concern about, I think it's mainly the water rather than the parking. It's you know, how that's going to work with the sewers that are there. Are they capable of taking? Because it will be excessive winter. So, okay, right, are you all happy with those comments? Yeah, okay, right, okay, we'll move on then. Now this is the list of building consent.
Sorry, it's a bit part of it.
No, don't.
I'm starting.
No, we only need to vote if we don't make comments, isn't it? We only vote if we're in support. Oh, I can't remember, reminds me.
It'll be good for a show of hands on it.
All right, show hands. Right, show hands, okay. There we are, that's okay, right, this is why I went, did that first, because we need to do listed building consent. Because without agreeing this, there's no point in doing listed buildings, so, are you happy with, listed building consent? Right, show hands please. Okay, that's it. Right, so we're gonna move on now to, oh, this is licensing now.
It doesn't require accessibility.
Okay, just let Marcus get his little bit out. There we are. Right, there's an application for pavement license, Cafe Argyle, Argyle, at 17 High Street. Anyone know Cafe Argyle?
I know it well. Is this the one of the applications, which is the annual renewal? It has to reapply every year. Mr. Miles just went.
I think so. This is annual renewal, isn't it, Marcus? Yeah, it's annual renewal.
Yeah.
There's not been any
No
problems.
change.
As
Yeah,
far as I know, there's no change.
I think they just want to put seating out front.
Yeah.
Yeah, just seating out, more seating out front. I think that's what they've asked for.
Well, it depends how far out it comes.
It's a valuable asset. The Portuguese community use this. cafe.
Yes.
But we just,
Yeah, that's as it is at the moment. I'm in favour.
is it the same?
Yes, I know. Yeah, I'm pretty
The
sure.
first is on, yeah, and I think it must be the same, so we've got both of them saying.
Yeah, it's a very good facility, and as I say, the Portuguese community
I put seating
use it.
out.
So,
Yeah.
We just wouldn't need.
There you are.
People to choose the house.
I know, because it is sweating now.
And it's always, they always keep it nice and clean inside the outside as well, which is a good thing. So, Paul?
I think they're introducing like a fence, or not fence, what do I mean, like a banner?
A banner.
It's got a frame it, so when there's no framing of the area, so that's going to be over. There you go, yeah, Barry, yeah.
Yeah.
That is the change, I think.
In other
Makes
words,
sense,
Yeah.
It does make sense because if you've got kids running around, at least they don't suddenly go running through the tables because you know what they're like, they're willy-nilly everywhere. Yeah, okay, right, Judy first and then Martin.
I just make a comment on the barriers. So
Yeah.
I use that street a lot and I use the cafes up in that street and walk up and down it regularly. And it is busy and there are a lot of children, cyclists, scooters,
Dogs.
dogs. Will it be possible to have possibly more barriers? I would be, rather than, so if you look at the barrier on the screen, it's to the left of the shop front, but there's nothing actually at the front in terms of.
Yes, I know what you mean, this
Yeah,
side.
so right, okay, so there's going to be a barrier there. Is it possible to have a barrier across the front? Not there yet, across there, just to stop any children running out from the tables because they do. And I've seen them do it. If somebody comes down in a scooter or a bike, I know they're not supposed to, but they do. It could be a bit, it's the same in all the cafes. Mr. Miles is completely sort of penned in, which is nice to see. It may be better because there are more and more cafes, which is great, it's lovely. But maybe just more barriers to protect the public.
Yeah, that could be a comment to have a barrier this end.
Kind of running adjacent to the actual side of the area.
Yeah. Yeah, this way and that way. Yeah, right, so Martin,
sorry.
Judy, there you are, you're okay now.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As you'll notice, it's right next door to the Cricketers pub, and at the moment, there's quite a spillover, which can be awkward for people actually eating at or being at those tables. So the barrier would be a good thing. I had a very nasty incident a few months ago where there was a woman who was walking around. I don't think she was right in the head, and she was blowing smoke all over me. And when I asked her whether she'd move away, because I was trying to eat at the time, she threw a cigarette into my food. I didn't call the police, maybe I should have done, but it was very nice, and they do get a lot of problems to say. So the more we do have the barriers, and the more the areas are self-contained, the better. Because it's actually a very respectable cafe. So I'm in full favour of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a awful incident. It's not one of the restaurants that's happened, but it's dreadful when it happens to you, especially when you're just trying to be peaceful and eat a meal. So, yeah, I think that's a very good backup for the reason of having that extra company there. Cool.
But just to clarify, actually, I agree with Julie. Are we saying, because obviously another barrier is the cost of the business, are we saying that's just we're not saying that's a condition? It's just suggested. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it as a recommendation. That's, you know, it would be, a recommendation.
If I get
Health and safety and possibilities.
to exceed them, I don't have plan, I need something to tomorrow.
I agree with you. Right, Marcus, like we said, can you just get us up to speed? Because we say lots of things.
Thank you, Chair. So, I take the view that there's support for this, application, but, suggestions, recommendations that possibly put a barrier at the front, alongside the one adjoining the side of the pub. And also just comment that, the barrier is supposed to prevent issues with the adjoining pub and the seating that's outside.
And members of the public.
It can stop me.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
That's a good someone.
Yep, but I'm having that, right, can I, you want to have it, but?
Yeah.
Can you show hands? Yep, okay, thank you. Right. What's this actually? 6.2, which is MA/56095. It's a street trading consent for Taunton Road to Leicester 2023. Grass and proposed areas. The market will cover in Taunton Centre, attached showing the layout and store attraction dimensions, which are largely identical to those on Ashmere Street trading consent. The licensed consent would be for the hours of 10 AM to 8 PM on Sunday, the 26th of November only. I have no problems with this whatsoever. That's a stop. It was very successful last year. I can't remember what the number was like. But are you happy?
Yes.
With that? It's virtually exactly the same. Yes, we all agree. Thank you. Right. Oh, I remember this as well. It's application for street trading consent on behalf of HTG Fashions Limited. Now, it was last year, it was like a lorry, and they have racks of clothing that they brought out into High Street. That is the same one, isn't it? I'm sure it's the same one. They were very popular. I know some of the Devons, which I haven't got any, they went for that. But they go around and they've got all this clothing that they bring out on roads, and you just go, there you are, that's the one. Yeah, it's like a market store.
No problem.
Yeah, it's like a market store. It was popular, even though there was some traders that weren't terribly happy. But yeah, the only thing on here is that it doesn't say what date or dates. Is this a regular thing? I couldn't find any date or dates for it.
9 till 5 Mondays to Saturdays and 9 till 4 on Sunday.
Is that every day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Right. So, right, okay, first of all, Martin and Ben.
I know from having been involved in applications for alcohol licenses, maybe they're applying for permission to trade every day. Once they've got the license, doesn't mean to say they will be there every day, they have the right to be. So if I was drawing up the application, I'd cover all places.
Totally agree with you there. Ben?
Marcus, did you want to just bring up, you briefly showed the plan where that one there. And it's actually quite close to, if you look at the dimensions, it's quite close to Cafe Algarve that we've just been talking about, and we're just going back to the barriers thing again, and I'm just thinking, how's that going to impact on the cafe? What do you think in terms of space? So
Pedestrians are trying to go on the street.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think, one of the things with the barriers around Cafe Algarve will help both of them.
but the one it's going to support, it's going to support Cafe Algarve's the barriers, but
Julie was saying,
Yeah, I think the concern that if it's too close to Cafe Algarve, pedestrians can't go around.
so it's just making sure that there's enough space for pedestrian movement around these stalls and around, because there's seating on either side of the pavement there, because cafe culture is very the opposite Cafe Algarve.
Yeah.
So if you've got another sort of area taken out, people sort of struggling to get down the high street. So, your suggestion is to slightly realign it, which maybe it's just the base, or,
Yeah, saying it's 3 meters.
3 meters is quite.
Width from the-
That's not.
obviously go far is probably need to credit Algarve.
Because it's also, we've also got the Goody and Geeky Indian restaurant.
Hang on, can we just, right. So we must remember that we need room, we need room for, wheelchairs.
Yeah.
People, and there must be enough room, both sides,
Yes.
for the pedestrian movements.
Yeah.
That's all I was going to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not expensive.
I'm going to say.
That's just an example of the,
Yeah, I think, you know, if I'm right, we're okay with it, but it's the pedestrian access each side, including wheelchairs and everything else, and also emergency services. You know, you must remember, that I've seen ambulances up there quite often in my street. Yeah, so you know, as long as the measurements are right each side, I'm happy with it, but I think it's the positioning that we've got slight concerns about. Is that right?
You just don't want to create a bottleneck, do you?
No.
You just don't want to create a bottleneck.
No, definitely not. You need to be able to go up one side and come back the other, like the market is. When you look at the farmer's market, you can go up one side and you can come down the other.
Quite right.
And it needs to be positioned like that. So that's our comments. I'm sure Marcus has got that quite clearly. So is everyone happy with those comments? So we're okay with it, but that's our concern and our recommendation. Okay? Well then, guess what? Good then, that's new. I think we finished, because number 7, feedback would be out of the town council, but we've been doing that as we've been going along, haven't we?
sorry, so no, this is the, these are the applications that haven't been in time for,
Oh, right.
so they just need approving.
Oh, that's right, that's the ones, yeah. So are we happy with that? Because you will have had emails asking if you've got any comments about the ones where the timing runs out. Which it didn't have time to come to us tonight. Can you remind me of what's on there? There was a couple of things, I think.
I think is it possibly the one at, of Rushmore and Stoke Mills, is that the one?
Yes, is it Ravenwood Silk Mills? Is that the one? Just trying to remember.
It's just coming today.
I'm just trying to get
That's supposed to come in today.
So there's a few.
Single, one might be mine, so I don't know.
Formation and interest now.
Well,
That's what
no, I'm just like, it's declaring interest.
It's too late.
Well, yeah, well, it was on the list.
On this later.
No, this is really, that's because the clerk has delegated authority to submit comments and feedback on behalf of town council, notifications and planning applications in the area when required, and an occasion where there is an inability of the planning committee to meet within the required deadlines, which is 21 days from the notification. And we didn't have time, so it makes sense, was really Tracy. Yeah,
Karen said.
yeah, because I need comments on, I need comments on this.
Sort of comments on it.
That's the one that we.
There's quite, I'm sorry, Ted, there's quite a number because of the summer, we obviously didn't meet in August. So
Yeah. That's right.
that's why there's quite a number on that, and maybe that, yeah, don't recall all of them, but they were sent to all councillors.
Well, I admit I'm happy with all of them. I don't know if there's anyone else got any comments about any of them.
That doesn't include the one that's come through today, does it?
No,
That's fine.
no, it's not the one today because didn't have time to answer it.
No, so well, that one won't have been submitted yet, it will have gone to councillors, and then there'll be a period of days, for councillors to submit their comments.
Yeah, which I will not enough time and I couldn't get the plans
And
on.
then that will go to the next planning committee and be on there at the bottom of item, it might be 7 again, but, and then, yeah. That'll be submitted to Somerset prior to it, so.
Yeah, that's right. So it's there, it's fucking there.
Yeah, it's just quick, just going back to what you were saying there, Marcus, the ones that, Caroline sent through today, are you saying that they will come to the next planning? Not this one, but the next one? Or is it? It's just because there's a very short window of time.
Then one considered to me, all I'm looking at, all over
It's, they've got to take a decision by the 23rd.
comments and everything.
So they'll be on the agenda for approval, but it, post sending it, because of the way that the window falls and so on.
And just going back, I've just gone back into, I've been very organised, and obviously put in my planning folder. The ones that I think that were sent out over the summer, I think I just went back and I thought it was a bit of a fine, I didn't have any comments. So,
Yeah. So, so the ones that we were sent for the summer, are you happy to confirm that we're happy for the clerk? For the delegated authority?
Yeah.
Right, show hands. Right, there we are. And now we have finished. Thank you. What did you say? So yes, so I'll close the meeting and at 7:16, I think, something like that. And thank you very much